I am excited to be here. I'm going to just give this a moment to allow folks to log in, and I'm going to do like a little tech check thing because sometimes the tech doesn't always cooperate. So I want to just go on here and make sure that we are live and that we are streaming. Here we are. I see it. We're here. And what was I going to do? I was just about to do something and I forgot what it is. Either way, I'm here. Hello. Welcome. Good morning. Today is February 11th. 2023. And today we are diving into the role of shame in your relationships and what to do about it in terms of how to release it. So that's what we're talking about here today. And before we jump into that subject, there are a few announcements that I want to share with you. The first one is that if you are here and you don't already follow me, then go ahead and click that follow button so that you can get more amazing content like this. I do these pop-up trainings occasionally. Most of the time, they're done in my private community, which is through my newsletter. So sign up to get my emails. Depending on what platform you're in, you can either head to the link in my bio or you head to fierceauthenticity.com where you can sign up to get my newsletter and also explore and learn more through the Fierce Authenticity podcast, through the Fierce Authenticity book. And yeah, that's what I've got for you there in terms of follow, like, make sure that you get on my emails, sign up to get my emails, check out the Fierce Authenticity podcast, check out the Fierce Authenticity book so that you can get more super helpful information like this straight into your inbox or into your favorite player system. Player system? How do I even... podcast player. That's it. I'm just coming back from 10 days away with family, welcoming in the next generation into our family. So my brain's a little discombobulated, and I'm going to do my best to really show up and bring it like I am known to do around here. So a couple other announcements before I totally dive in and begin. And one of them is that my brain just totally blanked out. So one of them is my brain, y'all, my brain today. The Fierce Authenticity Accelerator. That is something that I want to mention to you real quick and tell you how you can learn about it. Fierce Authenticity Accelerator is my 12-week program for my type A's, my go-getters who want to get information, get shit done, and want to learn about how to show up, be seen, and experience more love in your relationships. The love that you desire, the love that you deserve, not because you've had to do anything to earn it, but simply because you exist. And so that is the Fierce Authenticity Accelerator. And we begin on the 15th. And a lot of what what I'm going to teach you, like we're going to go deeper into it in that 12-week series, the Accelerator. I have 10 spaces available for you to join me. And we begin on Wednesday, the 15th. So we begin in just a couple of days. And in order to get more information about that, just head on over to the link in my bio, or again, fierceauthenticity.com, and you'll see the buttons that say something about joining the accelerator. And that's where, again, you get a deep dive and an experience into what is it? What does it mean? What gets in the way? Which leads me to shame and our main training for today. So shame is one of the biggest things that gets in the way from us being able to show up, be seen, and experience the love we desire in our relationships. And when I talk about shame, I'm going to kind of go off of Brené Brown's definition of shame. Brené Brown talks about shame. She's like a well-known researcher. I'm sure you know her. If you are here and you follow me, you probably know her. And she defines shame, and she's like a well-known shame researcher. She's really advanced the research on shame a lot. And she says that shame is that feeling that you are wrong. A lot of times people ask, like, well, what's the difference between shame and guilt? And she defines guilt as I did something wrong, and shame as I am wrong. And so when we use that definition, if we are believing that we are wrong, then we are not going to allow ourselves to show up, be seen, and experience the love that we deserve and desire. And instead, what we're going to do is we're going to shrink, we're going to shrivel up, we're going to play small. And there's this post I had written over on my Instagram. It's probably available over on Facebook as well, that shame and authenticity cannot coexist. And it was interesting. I was having conversations with my community members, and they were asking, like, well, how do we actually be authentic? Like, how do we show up authentically? How do we be authentic in our relationships? Because that's what my whole brand is about, right? Like, how can you authentically show up as yourself and be seen, experience love for who you are? How can you be accepted and belong as who you are, not as a watered down version of you, not as a masked up version of you, not as a version of you that is a show that you are putting on to people please and appease others? And so it's really important that you know and understand, okay, so what does that even look like? What does that even mean? And for that, I'm gonna go in and share an example here with you. I'm gonna invite you into an to use your imagination with me. And until then, what I want to invite you to do is I want to invite you to just just pause for a moment and notice what happens in your body when I say the word shame. And I know the way I said it that time was a little bit charged, so I'm simply going to say it in a neutral voice at this point. So again, just kind of closing your eyes, pausing, breathing, noticing what sensations arise for you in your body as I say the word shame. 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 If you're anything like me, then what may have happened for you is all of a sudden you may have started to feel some kind of way right up in here in your chest area. It might be like something contracted, or it felt icky, or it just like closed up. Usually shame comes with a closed up, constricted feeling. And so that is what I mean when I say, shame often leads us to constrict and to play small so that we don't expand and open and show up in the fullness of who we are. And it's important that you know that, because one of the biggest, like, our body is our GPS. Like, that our body is our GPS. It tells us what is going on, what we're feeling, what we're sensing, what we're experiencing. And living in systems of supremacy, culture, and oppression, patriarchy, and all that other good stuff, we don't learn how to connect with our bodies. We've actually been taught to disconnect with our bodies. We've been taught to disconnect with who we are authentically. And so it's important that you start to cultivate a relationship with your body. It's important that you start to get to know the signs, signals, and information that your body is giving you, because that will allow you to show up, be seen, and experience more love in your relationships. It will allow you to be more free to show up authentically. in your relationships. And so coming back to that feeling of shame, that like oof, closed off a feeling that you may most likely had felt when I said the word shame. And it's interesting, I said it to you 3 times, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, yeah, thinking of times like when you were maybe even younger, or maybe even you've said this out loud, like, shame on you, or you should be ashamed of yourself, right? With that finger pointing, shame on you, you should be ashamed of yourself, yada, yada, yada. And it feels yucky. It just feels gross. And so I want to invite you into a visualization with me. All right. So just taking a moment again to settle in. Actually, what we're going to do first is we're going to shake off that feeling of shame that had come in. You know, I had invited you to tap into your body and feel what shame feels like. And then like, before we move into the next exercise, in teaching you and sharing with you how shame really shows up, we're going to like discharge it from our body, discharging it from our nervous system, releasing it. And so we're going to just like shake, 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 shake. And you're going to look silly doing it. And that's okay. If you follow me on YouTube, if you like and subscribe over on YouTube, then you will find I have a whole playlist dedicated to how we like release from our bodies, and in there I share with you in one of the videos that like it's supposed to look like you're supposed to look like funny. It's supposed to feel funny, like it's supposed to feel awkward and uncomfortable because like ugh, you're shaking it out. Okay, so shaking that out and then taking one more breath, reconnecting as we go into a scene that we're going to imagine. Okay, so just coming in. And just imagining it, and just I want to invite you to imagine, to picture, pretend that you're watching a movie and this is the scene where either you, as a younger child, like as a young child, or it could be any kid, um, but just imagine and envision a child. And they have literally, like, they've got the crayons, they've got the paper, and they are making what they're so engaged. Like, the colors are everywhere. The paper is full of these beautiful scribbles. Maybe they're making a rainbow and a stick person and a house, and there's a little doggy there. And they are so proud and so excited of this masterpiece that they have created. And then they're like, yes, the creation is done. And so they take it to their primary caregiver, a parent, a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt. They take it to an adult in their life, and they're like, look at this masterpiece I created. Of course, they don't say masterpiece, right? But they're like, look at my picture. Look what I drew. I drew this. And now imagine that that adult is so preoccupied with whatever is going on for them that they don't actually take the time to pause and put their attention on this child and this masterpiece that this child has created. And instead, they're just like, okay, yeah, okay, it's pretty, or okay, yeah, it's nice. And then literally moving on to whatever it was that had them preoccupied. And now I want you to, if it's a child that's not you, just looking upon that child or experiencing what that child is likely experiencing. They don't feel good right now, do they? They feel very disheartened. They feel very disappointed. They feel very let down. They feel very small because they created this beautiful masterpiece. They're very proud of their little art project drawing, and they take it to the people who are supposed to love the heck out of that drawing and love the heck out of that piece of art. And instead, they get dismissed. There's a real dismissive quality because the adult is so preoccupied in their own thing. And now do that over and over enough times with enough masterpieces and enough different pieces of art. And that child over time is going to stop either getting excited about drawing or stop showing the adults in their lives what they're up to. There's going to be a disengagement that occurs. That, my friends, is a part of the experience of the shame. Because if that adult really cared, they would have stopped. And I'm not saying that the adult was wrong in what they did. I want to back up and say that. I'm saying from the perspective of the child, that what they interpret as that is that they are not important. They don't matter. Their art doesn't matter. Their drawing doesn't matter. And so they take on this meaning because humans and the human brain is a meaning making machine. And especially as young children, when we are so impressionable, we don't have the resources to understand, like, oh, mom's having a bad day, or grandpa is having a bad day. And so they're busy and they can't right now. I can go back later, right? No, instead, because children are also at that age very much into magical thinking and the whole world revolves around them. And so if you do not pause and love up on them, what they interpret is that they don't matter, they're not important, their art sucks, you don't like them, and they're going to shut down. And those become instances of shame. And now I've also learned a little bit about shame with David Bredrick, who does a lot of amazing work with shame also. And what he says is, in those moments where you were like experienced shame in that way, that feeling of like being small, not mattering, and shutting down, which again, backing up a step to say, if the story is I don't matter, if that's the story you make up about yourself, then of course I don't matter equals I am wrong. Brené Brown, shame is I am wrong. And so David Bredrick calls it like the way to unshame is to be there and provide a loving witness. And in the presence of a loving witness, shame doesn't have the opportunity to take root and take hold. And so, using the same example, if that parent had been able to, like I said, pause, breathe, put their attention on the child and their art for just a few moments, to just check whatever else was happening with them, put it to the side, and just for a few moments to say, oh yes, baby, that is such a cool drawing. That is such a beautiful drawing. Look at that rainbow. Look at all the colors. Oh, this is so great. Give them a hug, give them a high five, and then they go on their way. And do you notice within yourself the experience, the difference between the first one, where it was just dismissed, and the second one? One creates a sense of shut down small, and one creates a sense of open, expansive, yay, happy, go and make another painting or drawing, right? And I feel like it's important to add here that, one of the other things shame does to us is that it shuts us down when we shut down, we contract, we play small, when we feel that feeling in there, and we just like, ugh. what it also does is, and I love the way David Bredrick phrases this, where he talks about um, usually our gifts are in whatever it is that we have been shamed around. So, like for that child who created that masterpiece with the rainbows and the stick person and the house and the dog, they may have like turned out to be like an amazing artist. Uh, and instead, they're going to shut down that part of themselves in the first scenario because it was dismissed and it wasn't acknowledged. They didn't receive the loving witness. And in the second example and experience, they might end up becoming that amazing artist because they received the loving witness. They received the love, the nurturance, the support, the encouragement around it. And now, does that mean that every kid who scribbles and creates rainbows, are they all going to turn out to be artists? No, no, they're not all going to be like super great artists. That's not going to be everyone's passion. And here's the important part. And art is a creative outlet. And if we experience shame or shaming around our art, even though it has nothing to do with us and our art that we are producing, even though it has nothing to do with that, if we experience that often enough, remember how I said we shut down? We kind of like close off. We close off that part of us. We disconnect. Well, we're going to stop picking up the crayons one day. We're going to put the paper to the side and we're not going to bother. Because, and then that's actually going to have negative effects for us as we grow, because another thing shame steals from us is our creativity and our joy. And so if we've had these experiences repeatedly over and over again, often enough times, we're going to lose touch with the creative outlet, with the creative parts of us. We're going to lose touch with that. And then that's a skill set for how to manage life, how to manage our emotions, how to handle ourselves, that we're going to miss. We're going to miss that. And so I know that was a long example, and it felt really important to really play that out fully. And you might be thinking, okay, Sharani, that's great. That was in childhood. Okay, fine. I won't do that to my kids. Okay, fine. I'll take a moment to pause and just be present with my kids. Sure. Okay, fine. Whatever. But what about in our adult relationships? How does shame show up in our adult relationships? And so this is where I'm going to invite you to imagine again with me. Okay, so, and you know what? Let's complete that child exercise right now. And what I'm going to invite you to do is to practice being the loving witness with that child. And so we're going to replay that scenario in our heads, and we're going to say, okay, here's this child. They've created this beautiful masterpiece, the scribbles that created the rainbow, the stick person, the house, the dog. It's all beautiful. And then they take it to the adult in their life, and they're like, look at this. Look what I made. And now it is going to be your job to be a loving witness to that child. Take a moment and mentally put aside anything else that might be happening in your head. Turn towards that child. Turn towards that picture that they are showing you. Take a big breath. Get down to their level, whether that be getting down on your knees or just crouching down, sitting down at the table with them, whatever it might be. Just get down to their level and take a moment to say, wow, that's so beautiful. Look at that rainbow. Look at all those colors you used. Look at that dog. He's so cute. Look at this person that you made. Oh, and that house. Great job, baby. Good job. And now give that child a hug and release them. Let them go. What a difference that makes, right? What a difference that makes. It's so beautiful and so nourishing. And one of the practices that you can do, that you can engage with, is in those moments where you find that coming up, that sense of shame, that wanting to pull back, wanting to stay small, in the moments where you feel that coming up, take a moment to pause. Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to connect with yourself. Maybe it's that your spouse just told you that, you did something wrong, and you interpret that as you are wrong, and you find yourself wanting to fly off the handle and spiral down into a story about how wrong you are, and go into the shame spiral. Or maybe it's that they pointed out, like, hey, you forgot to do this thing. And then all of a sudden you get triggered and you go into a shame spiral and you just go down that rabbit hole. Or maybe they just said, hey, you left the cheese out and now it needs to get thrown away, right? And you go down into that shame spiral and you want to contract, and you want to play small, and you want to just like shrink up as a kid and just like shrivel up, right? That you are wrong, that you are wrong, that you are inherently wrong. Anytime you feel yourself going there, taking a moment to pause, to breathe, to notice, what's happening for you, noticing what thoughts and feelings are arising for you, and then to picture in your mind, when else have you felt like this? When was the first time you felt like this? And then put yourself in that experience. And instead, rather than being the child who shrivels up, rather than being the child that gets dismissed, instead, you get to be the child who is lovingly witnessed. Oh, yes, baby, I see. I see that you left the cheese on the counter. You totally forgot to put it away. I see that, baby. It's okay. We're human. We make mistakes. There's nothing wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. We're human. And sometimes we forget to put the cheese back in the fridge. And that's okay. I still love you anyway. And then give that kid a hug, give that child a hug. Ask them if there's anything else they need. And then let them go on their way. And then in doing that, what you have just gotten to do is be a loving witness for that child, that part of you that was activated, that part of you that did not receive the loving witness, the part that was made wrong for forgetting things out and not putting them in the fridge. And in that moment, you get to turn around and say to your partner, oh, wow, yeah, I can't believe I left it out. I'm so sorry. That really sucks. Yeah, we have to throw it away. We make mistakes. The end. And it doesn't have to be a knockout, drag out fight. It doesn't have to lead to a shame spiral. It doesn't have to take you down and then shrinking back or lashing out. And that is the beauty of learning how shame shows up in our relationships and how we release it. And this is just one tiny practice of a whole plethora, a whole host of other practices that you will learn when you join me in any of my programs, whether that be the Fierce Authenticity Accelerator or Fierce Authenticity Unbecoming. No matter where you where you work with me, we will go deeper into all this. So again, visit the link in my bio or visit fierceauthenticity.com and or visit fierceauthenticity.com and learn more about how you can work with me.